Top 10 nu metal albums. Before I get to the list, I want to state that I'm going to be a bit of a purist about this. I'm not including most of the obvious picks. If you want a generic list that overgeneralizes nu metal, this is not the list for you. There will be no Deftones, Evanescence, or Linkin Park here. My list is a bit more narrowed down. I want it to be more true to the spirit of nu metal. True nu metal has a more raw sound. For those confused, here's how I define nu metal. It's a style that blends groove metal, grunge, and hip-hop. Even if you know nothing about these labels, it's a very identifiable sound when you hear it.
I see your faces and I do not understand why.
Nu metal has down-tuned guitars, creepy ambience, pronounced bass, and emotional, chaotic vocals. Thematically, it usually involves childhood trauma, or at least uncomfortable personal struggles and disturbing topics. And this is reflected not only by the music itself, but also frequently the album art as well. Let's begin. Number 10, Scorpio Rising by Prong. Prong isn't typically a nu metal band, but they did venture into the style on Scorpio Rising. They are mostly thought of as a groove metal band, and there's plenty of groove on this. But this undoubtedly captures the nu metal sound as well.
Gonna tell you it's all in vain. Gonna tell you.
I may place it only at 10, but it still has the raw, gritty sound we know and love. And it has a good balance of heavier and softer moments. Number 9, Through the Ashes of Empires by Machine Head. Machine Head had a nu metal phase on a few records, a couple of them even bleeding into rap metal. However, I think the hidden gem from this era is Through the Ashes of Empires. Not only a nu metal record, Ashes also gets into melodic metalcore territory. So it's a little more clean and polished than the average nu metal album. But it's still pretty grungy at times.
I understand your every
Left Unfinished is the most thematically nu metal track, lyrically being about feeling left unfinished because you were not fortunate enough to be raised properly. It even begins with a baby lullaby chime. Nu metal is very much a coming-of-age genre, something I think is often misunderstood by those who dismiss it outright. In addition to the crunchy riffs, Ashes features many hooks and melodies. worthy of recognition on this list.
Time does not care, and sometimes life ain't fair.
Number 8, Lost and Found by Mudvayne. This is mostly known for its hit song, Happy, which is actually a pretty solid nu metal track.
Does it make you happy now?
Lost and Found is also a pretty clean sounding record. Much like Ashes, but this time, instead of metalcore, taking a bit of influence from alt metal and even funk metal. But I still feel comfortable calling this a nu metal record. Even the cover art reflects that theme of troubled youth that is emblematic of nu metal. A lesser known deep cut I like is Choices, which is about the disillusionment resulting from realizing both political parties are awful and voting doesn't really matter. It has a great funky riff. And I love that cheesy, childish, eeny, meeny, miny, mo thrown in.
Well, the butcher, get up and fall behind.
Number 7, Sinner by Drowning Pool.
Let the bodies hit the
Let the Bodies Hit the Floor is possibly the most well-known nu metal anthem, and those whispering vocals at the start are something iconic of the genre.
Let the bodies hit the floor.
Drowning Pool also takes some influence from hard rock, so this is much more accessible than most nu metal. While Bodies is the highlight for sure, there's a few other catchy tracks on this as well, such as All Over Me.
All over me, all over me, all over me.
My only complaint with this one is that the songs are a tad repetitive, but otherwise it's a solid nu metal classic.
Someday you will not forget.
Number 6, Obsolete by Fear Factory.
Chaotic case of conquering domination.
Now here we really start getting to the good stuff. I love this album. Edge Crusher is an absolute banger.
Break of the edge, crusher. Break of the edge, crusher.
Then Descent showcases the more doom and gloomy side of nu metal. And Securitron has a bit of everything and a great lyrical theme about a totalitarian police state.
Concede your rights, concede your mind, surrender to authority.
The only reason this isn't higher on the list is because it's pretty diluted sound-wise. There's a fair bit of industrial metal and groove metal throughout, and arguably it leans more heavily into these styles than it does into nu metal. But make no mistake, this is a killer release that does still place emphasis on the nu metal elements. Number 5, The Ascension by Otep. This has a very similar sound to Lost and Found. To the point, I would be surprised if it wasn't a direct inspiration. That said, I actually like this one a lot more. I think the vocal delivery is a huge part of this. The raw emotion and versatility is great here.
If you
Don't do so good.
I will
And the female vocals are refreshing in nu metal. I know that Otep is on many people's most cringe bands lists, but the Rage Against the Machine type lyrics are pretty minimal on this one. Even lyrically, I quite like a lot of the tracks off of Ascension, such as Noose and Nail, which critiques the practice of trading addiction for religion,
Jesus needs his prescriptions filled.
which is common in Alcoholics Anonymous. For instance, many quit drugs only to join cults or become ideological zealots,
Buddha's using too many pills.
which is debatably not much better than addiction itself.
Remedy is worse than the disease. The remedy is worse than the disease.
I also like Perfectly Flawed, which despite seeming a bit corny,
Perfectly flawed. You're perfectly incomplete.
is a softer track, encouraging one to stay strong and ward off suicidal ideation.
Don't you do it, you're not healing you yet.
So yeah, this is still a strong nu metal release. It even has that creepy factor that I love about the genre.
Hush, little baby, don't make a sound.
Number 4, Wisconsin Death Trip by Static X. Many may consider this an industrial metal record, but I'd say that it's just as much a nu metal one. It has the perfect balance of both styles. All the tracks are so catchy and energetic. Static X describes their sound as evil disco, which sums it up pretty well. This time around, I'm certainly not going to write an essay about how deep the lyrics are,
What's wrong? Don't you think dong ding dong? Smells like a rose.
but it's still a great record. Nu metal isn't entirely moping and whinging. It can be fun too.
Just sad.
Yeah, what? Very stupid.
Number 3, Sandwich by Psychostick.
Do you want a taco? Do you?
It may seem a bit odd to put a comedy band this high up on the list, but Sandwich is a great ode to nu metal. They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and this is a parody of the genre, taking the exaggerated emotions of something like Korn, but applying it to mundane, everyday things. Again, like Mudvayne, it has some alt metal and funk metal in there too.
Okay, so this is how you get here. You're gonna want to take the 202 to the 101.
But that extra nu metal angst is what really makes the comedy work, in my opinion. There's a track about getting mad at your roommate for eating your leftovers, as well as another one about being frustrated when a girl can't give you clear directions while driving.
You know what? Your directions are bad, and beyond comprehension. Fuck!
Psychostick is basically First World Problems, the band, and it makes me feel a million years old, referencing that ancient meme. In fact, these days, it doesn't even feel like we're in the first world anymore, but that's another story for another time. Another thing I appreciate about Sandwich is how clear the enunciation is. One thing that hurts a lot of comedy rock bands is the fact you either often can't understand the lyrics, or they resort to many spoken word sections. And while there are quite a few skits on Sandwich,
You know what a funny word is? Balls! Thank you, Rob.
even when it's a straight up nu metal track, it's very easy to understand the words.
That was so right. I hate you. You ate my food. I hate you. I've been stuck at this stupid job for far too long.
And in a genre known for this, that is impressive. Production is crystal clear. Despite being a comedy record, it's legitimately better than a lot of nu metal.
Let me alone. I got work to do. Doesn't they go when they go when they go and then they go when they come and one after the other.
Number 2, Iowa by Slipknot.
As I close my eyes, I feel I'm slipping away. God, torture.
not much matches the raw aggression of Iowa, while it dips into rap metal and groove metal heavily at times. I still think this is a definitive nu metal record. It has everything from simmering angst
Come see my cage, built in my grave.
to spooky atmosphere to unapologetic rage.
They're closing and I can't escape. I am majored.
Slipknot definitely has more accessible releases, but Iowa is the best representation of the disturbing attitude of nu metal. The vocal flow is excellent.
Don't feel better, who's better? It's not that simple. You gotta figure it out before you make things difficult.
The instrumentation is pummeling. And they nailed the disillusionment of growing up.
I don't wanna do this anymore. Everything's shit.
Great work of art. Number 1, Korn. Of course, Korn had to be the number 1 spot. And I think, much like Slipknot, I'm gonna go with the most dirty record, this time being their debut. This is another level of unsettling, and I rarely listen to the final track because it's too disturbing. However, this album still has a lot of bangers on it. From the classic Blind
This place inside my mind, a place I like to hide.
to the funny yet unnerving Chutes and Ladders.
Knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone. This old man came rolling home. Knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone.
And there's some more underrated tracks, such as Ball Tongue, Fake, and Lies.
I like to touch inside.
This was the record that started nu metal, and obviously it deserves the gold medal. The horrifying playground image on the cover sets the tone for what this genre represents: an ugly urban reality and the loss of innocence. There is a good reason why nu metal resonates with teenagers. There is something real about it. It showcases themes of bullying and abuse, completely uncensored.
Why did you tease me? Make me feel upset.
People like to laugh at nu metal, but perhaps it's because they'd rather turn a blind eye to these topics, and I can't really blame them. I do think it's unhealthy to fixate on this too much, but it is still reality. Even if I'm considered cringe for saying so, nu metal is a legitimate art form. Nu metal was my gateway into metal music as a whole, so it's why I did this video first. But if there's other genres you'd like to see a top 10 of, let me know. Our acculturation continues.
Give a dog a bone.